Australian officials are in talks with the Chinese government about bringing citizens stuck in Wuhan province home, amid fears the new coronavirus is continuing to spread. There are about 600 Australians in Hubei province. The most isolated and vulnerable people will be prioritised. They'll be taken to Christmas Island for a 14-day quarantine period. For more on this, I'm joined by political reporter Stephanie Boris. Hi there, Stephanie. When and how many people will be involved?
Well, the federal government has every intention of evacuating Australians from Wuhan, but it is a matter for the Chinese government. They are the ones that are deciding who goes in and who comes out. So Australian consular officials are now in Wuhan trying to ascertain how many Australians would like to fly home. And we understand that discussions with the Chinese government are progressing, with hopes that a final tick of approval essentially will be made within days. Now, those Australians that will be placed on the flight will be prioritised, young and elderly, getting the first seats. And once they come back on this Qantas chartered flight, they will be sent to Christmas Island, where they'll be placed in the detention facility there for at least 14 days until they're essentially given the all clear that they don't have the coronavirus.
The government is being questioned over why these Australians particularly should go to Christmas Island. Other countries aren't quarantining their citizens like this. What does the government have to say?
Well, the Australian Medical Association argues that these people on the chartered flight shouldn't be put on Christmas Island, that they should in fact be looked after in hospitals on the mainland. Labor leader Anthony Albanese is questioning the thinking behind this. He's pointing to the fact that the federal government reopened the Christmas Island detention facility last year, costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. And since its reopening, it's only been home to 4 people, a family of 4. Anthony Albanese saying he's wondering whether this idea is to try and justify the use and the money of reopening the detention facility. But Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton argues very much that this was the only option, and the government made this decision based on the advice of medical experts, including the Chief Medical Officer. He says this is the only facility that can ensure that all these people are well looked after.
The reality is that people need to be accommodated somewhere for up to 14 days. I can't clear out a hospital in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane. I don't have a facility otherwise that we can quickly accommodate for what might be many hundreds of people. And Christmas Island is purpose-built for exactly this scenario. So we can isolate people within the centre from those that are living on Christmas Island otherwise. It's obviously a Commonwealth facility. We have the ability to leverage off the medical services that we already have in place there.
Of course, Stephanie, one of the main problems is they just don't know how many people do want to come back, get out of China and come back to Australia. But if this flight does go ahead, what are the logistics?
Well, that's right, Lorna. It really does depend on how many people do want to come home, and that will then help the government decide how many medical staff and how many staff in general need to be sent to Christmas Island to take care of these people. So the government today is saying that it will wait until it knows how many Australians want to come home. There is a pre-deployment team on standby that is set to go to Christmas Island either today or tomorrow. That will include medical specialists and experts. Also, the Defence Force has been asked to help from a medical and logistical point of view. Now, Australians wanting a seat home on this flight will have to pay for the cost of the flight, but the government will incur all other costs. They were asked exactly how much this is going to cost, considering these people will be on the island for 2 weeks. That figure hasn't been made public as of yet.
Stephanie, thanks for that. Well, Queensland has recorded its first case of the virus, while a second infection has been found in Victoria. That brings the national total to 7 people. Reporter Stephanie Zillman has more from Brisbane.
We were briefed late yesterday that it's confirmed a 44-year-old Chinese national from Wuhan has been quarantined and hospitalised at the Gold Coast Hospital after being confirmed with coronavirus. It is Queensland's first confirmed case. We also understand that anyone who came into contact with the man who was staying at a hotel before he was hospitalised is being very closely monitored for any symptoms or signs of the virus. But at this stage, it's just one confirmed case in Gold Coast Hospital.
The Chinese football team have been in Brisbane and they're in quarantine now, are they?
That's right. They're being holed up at a hotel, an undisclosed hotel in Brisbane. 32 members of China's national women's football team are here in Brisbane after arriving on a flight yesterday from Shanghai. They've been quarantined for 14 days until the 5th of February because the team passed through Wuhan last week. So at this stage, the hotel that they're being holed up at is undisclosed, but we understand that members of Queensland Health are there working with the team, and they have the full support as well from the Australian Football Federation.
Any further updates expected from your region today, Stephanie?
Yes, we can expect an update from Queensland Health shortly at 11 o'clock Queensland time. Other than that, at this stage, people who came into contact with the man on the Gold Coast are being very closely monitored for signs, and as well as people who may have come into contact with the football team as well.